Hey guys, so this is kind of a different way to do a grammar lesson, but because of Grand Ole Picture Day, I'm actually going to do your adjective and adverb dependent clauses notes on the computer. So you need to make sure that you watch this entire video. Don't skip through it. Watch and kind of engage. So watch what I'm doing, think through what I'm saying, and then make sure that you do the no red ink practice. You are still going to have a quiz on Thursday. Okay, so notice that this is in your grammar section of your OneNote, and it's called Notes, Adjective, and Adverb Dependent Clauses. Okay, so if you need to go back and watch the lesson again, you can click that link there. Okay, there's extra practice for you. If this video doesn't make sense or you want to watch another one, you can watch these extra videos right here. So click on those. There's all the resources that you could need. Okay, and then make sure that you attempt the no red ink assignment. Okay, it's called Dependent Clauses, and this is due on Thursday, and Thursday is also the date of your quiz. Okay, so read through all of these steps. Make sure that you do what you need to do to be ready for your quiz on Thursday, and come to tutorial if you need extra help. All right, here we go. Here are your notes. Now, in order to understand this, you need to know first what a clause is, okay? So you may have seen this definition before, but a clause is simply a group of words with a subject and a verb. Okay, so every group of words that has a subject and a verb with it is actually called a clause. Now, you may remember from last year that there are two different types or subcategories of clauses. The first type, which is the simplest, is the independent clause. Okay, now the independent clause can stand alone. Okay, so that means it's a sentence all in itself. It doesn't need anything else added to it. It can be a sentence all on its own. And then the second type, which is what we're concentrating on today, is the dependent clauses. Now, it seems pretty obvious what the definition is. They cannot stand alone. Okay, so dependent clauses need an independent clause with them so that they are a complete sentence. Okay, another way to think of an independent or a dependent clause is that it is incomplete. It has incomplete. It has a subject and a verb, but it cannot stand on its own. All right, so let's go through and see if you can identify whether this underlined part is an independent or a dependent clause. So number one, 13-year-old Kate is devoted to her horse Scarlet. So read the underlined part independently and see, you should be able to hear if it is a sentence by itself or if it's an incomplete sentence. So read 13-year-old Kate is devoted to her horse. Now we have a subject, Kate, and we have a verb, is. So this is a clause, and when I say it out loud, I know that it makes a complete sentence by itself. So this is an independent clause. All right, number two, I'm going to read just the underlined portion. When Kate was 9 years old. Okay, I have a subject, Kate, and I have a verb, was. Okay, but just because there's a subject and verb doesn't mean that it's a complete sentence. So say it again. When Kate was 9 years old. You can almost hear that there's like a ... at the end, like the sentence needs to be completed. So what that tells you is that is a dependent clause. Number three, while her brothers sleep. Well, we have subject, brothers, sleep, verb. But in my head, I'm thinking, what happens while her brothers sleep? If you have more questions, then that means it's a dependent clause. Number four, Kate brushes her coat in mane. Kate brushes. That sounds pretty complete to me. Okay, and number 5, she does this. We have she, and we have the verb does. She does this. Yeah, that's complete. I don't need any more information. Okay, so how you do this is you find the subject and verb. First, make sure that it's a clause. Then you have to decide if the clause is complete or incomplete. All right, now, you probably remember that from last year, but what you might not remember is that there are different types of dependent clauses, and we're going to learn the first 2 today. So the first type that we are going to talk about is adverb dependent clauses. Okay, these type of clauses describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Okay, so an adverb-dependent clause, just like an adverb, describes verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. Okay, they start with subordinating conjunctions. Now, I'm hoping that you remember that term from last year, and it does sound like a very fancy academic word. But subordinating conjunctions, there are some main ones that I'm going to want you to know. And they are the SWABIes. Now, that's not a word, SWABI, but it's an acronym. SWABI. Okay, so this is since, when or where, after, before, and if. Now, this is not all the subordinating conjunctions. However, they are the most common ones, okay? So if you see any of these words that describe time or condition, like where or when, they are probably adverb words. Okay, the comma rule is if the dependent clause, the adverb specifically, oh, my stylus stopped working. Oh no. If the dependent clause comes before or first, a comma separates them. Okay, and we will look at examples of that in a second. Okay, a tip about locating adverb-dependent clauses. Usually, adverbs talk about or tell you more about the time and or condition. So when it happened, like before is a time word, after is a time word, and then the condition is things like if and then, or since this happened, something else happened. Okay, so that's time or condition. Let's look at some examples right here. Whenever we go to the fair, okay, this word whenever is a subordinating conjunction. Okay, you'll notice up here with the SWABIes, it says when and where. That includes whenever and wherever, okay? So whenever we go to the fair. Notice that the subordinating conjunction clause comes first. We have whenever, we have a subject, and we have a verb. Okay, so we know that this is a complete clause. But since the dependent clause comes first, there is a comma here, and then the independent clause comes after. Okay, so this clause is the dependent clause, and it's an adverb because it starts with the word whenever. Okay, the next example, it says, my family never gets in fights since we love each other. Okay, so this since is the S in SWABI. So this is a subordinating conjunction, and it starts the adverb-dependent clause. The adverb-dependent clause is since we love each other. That is not a complete sentence by itself, and you'll notice that the dependent clause comes second right here, and there is no comma. So the comma is only for when the dependent clause comes first. Okay, last one. After Santa drives the sleigh, he brings presents. Now this one you'll notice the comma, and that makes it a lot easier to find. We have the word after, which is our time word, and we have our dependent clause, after Santa drives the sleigh. My stylus stopped working it. After Santa drives the sleigh. Okay, that's the adverb dependent clause. It's telling us about time, and since it comes first, there's a comma. Okay, so you need to make sure that you learn these words. If you can remember the swabbies, you'll be able to find the adverb dependent clauses, no problem. Okay. Next type. This is the final type for today. This is the adjective dependent clause. Now, adjectives, you'll probably remember that adjectives describe nouns or pronouns. So if you can locate the dependent clause and decide what the dependent clause is describing, then you'll for sure be able to find out which type it is. Now, adjective dependent clauses, they start with relative pronouns. Another word that you'll probably recognize from last year, but maybe not remember what it is. Okay, often adjective dependent clauses are set between or in the middle of the independent clause. And a tip is they usually describe location or which one. Remember, since they're describing the noun or the pronoun, they're going to tell you which noun or pronoun. Now, some relative pronouns that you're going to need to remember are, there's not an acronym for them, but that, which, who, whose, and whom. So if you see any of those words, alarm should be going off in your head that there is probably an adjective dependent clause nearby. All right, so let's look at some examples down here. The horse that belongs to you is beautiful. So I see a word that, which is cluing me in that there's probably a dependent clause. Okay, that belongs to you. This is the adjective dependent clause. And I know it's describing which horse. So this whole clause is describing which horse it is. Now, adjective clauses are sometimes hard to identify because they don't always have to be set off by a comma. So they're often like right in the middle of a dependent clause, splitting it apart. Okay, the next one says, the friend who comes with you must be up for adventure. The friend, we have our word who, which is a relative pronoun. Who comes with you? Okay, who comes with you is describing the friend. Okay, so therefore, friend is a noun. Therefore, that clause, who comes with you, is an adjective dependent clause. And the last one, the tree, which stands by the road, is where we will meet. Now, this one has commas, and so that's very helpful. We have the word which, a relative pronoun, which stands by the road. And that is describing the tree, which is a noun. So that's an adjective dependent clause. Okay, so those are the notes, and they're going to be put in your OneNote exactly like this so that you can reference them whenever you need to. What you need to do is go and watch extra videos if you need more help or this is confusing to you. Okay, now just a little bit of comfort. Clauses are probably the hardest grammar thing that you're going to learn this year, so don't get discouraged. But then you need to make sure that you go and do this assignment on no red ink to test your knowledge. Now, this is going to take you probably about 30 minutes, okay? And you have until Thursday, so make sure that you plan ahead and give yourself plenty of time to even break it up into different sections and do it. Remember, you're looking on no red ink for there's quite a few assignments, okay? So make sure that you are looking for all of the circles with the different assignments to have the green check mark inside them. Okay, there's a quiz on Thursday. Make sure you come to tutorial if you need extra help. You guys have got it. You're awesome.